body has a certain genuine intelligence which is lacking in the mind. If there's even a slight imbalance in the system, the elements of the body start working to bring about once again a certain state of equilibrium. But that's not what your mind is like. Just think, if your mind had that same genuine intelligence of the body, by now everybody would be living in a state of well-being. So all the problems of human suffering are generated at the level of the mind. So this is why it is so essential to learn the art and science of becoming more conscious of your own mental processes. Without learning how to become more conscious of your own mental processes, mind is more or less just like any other machine or mechanism, very deeply programmed and conditioned, and just following whatever conditioning has been written on it. So unless one learns to become more conscious of what's happening in the field of your experience, and conscious in such a way that you are not becoming identified with whatever may be happening in your experience, then one will be responding very much compulsively in the world. So as a human being, it has taken millions of years to come to this point, where nature has now given you all the fundamental tools to start inquiring deeper into your own being. Unlike all the other forms of life on the planet, all the other forms of life on the planet, from the plants, starting from the single-celled organisms, to the plants, to the animals, to the human being, they are all obligated to live according to their conditioning. So most of their way of life is determined by instinct. But as a human being, you can ask a fundamental question: who am I? Which is something which no other form of life on the planet is capable of. So that's the thing about a human being. In fact, this extra intelligence and this extra awareness which nature has given to you, it's like a pendulum which can swing in both directions. It can either become the source of your joy and freedom, or it can become the cause of all your sufferings in the world. It's all a matter of, are you able to use these instruments and tools that have been given to you responsibly? Like any instrument or tool, how well can you have an understanding of what are its mechanisms? Is just how well you can put these instruments to use in the world. What does it mean to be a conscious being? When I say a conscious being, the other forms of life, the animals, also have awareness. But when I say a conscious being, I'm talking about the ability to become more conscious of your own consciousness, to become more wakeful about your own wakefulness. What that means is, just look at the history of the evolution of life on the planet. It's not just the body which has been going through a process of evolution. Mind has also been going through a process of evolution, from the unconscious to the subconscious to the conscious mind. So what it means in this expansion of life, what it basically means is you're including more possibilities into the field of your experience. So that's something about consciousness is not something which is fixed and defined. It is very much flexible. Whatever enters into the field of your perception right now, That is what exists for you. So, deepening your perception in such a way that other realms of your being start entering into your awareness. I find this a very great irony that the human being, with all of his intelligence, with all the capabilities of the human being, with your body tremendously active in the world, and yet at the same time you're doing all of these things without knowing the very fundamentals of who are you. So, according to me, all the fundamentals of human suffering is just because of this, that one has the inner dimension of who you are has not entered into one's experience. So when I say, who are you? I am not talking about either the body, the mind, or the personality, because all of these things are things which you gradually gathered over a certain amount of time. So what is this inner dimension? It's a bit like there was once a man who was growing very old. This is so very common in human experience, that as you come closer and closer to the grave, and the reality starts hitting you that, okay, one day I'm going to drop the body, and what lies in the future is completely uncertain for me. Just think about it. When you're born in the world, you have no choice what kind of parents you'll be born with, what kind of upbringing you will have, what kind of society in which you will be born. So many factors were uncertain. But this seems to be one of the very few things which is certain in life, that as a result of birth of the body, one day you'll have to drop the body. So naturally this man was growing old, and all kinds of questions started surfacing in his mind. Okay, I've been living my whole life with various different kinds of beliefs. Do my beliefs even have any true grounds in reality? And what lies after death of the body? So with these type of questions in mind, he went to see a yogi. And he asked the yogi, okay, tell me, please, be very straightforward. I have very little time left. Just tell me, what is the truth? What is the truth of this creation? What is the truth of my own being? The yogi very simply asked him, he said, who are you? The old man was very surprised. He said, my God, don't you know who I am? Everywhere I go in this country, people recognize me immediately. I'm so surprised. I am the king of South India. How is it you don't know who I am? Then the yogi said, all right, I appreciate that's your status in the society, but you still have not told me who you are. He said, as I said, I'm the king of South India. My name is Gajapati. The yogi once again replied, he said, okay, I know this is your name. That's the name your parents have given to you. Still, you have not told me who you are. The man started getting slightly frustrated. So then he said, well then I guess I'm just a human being. I'm just an ordinary human being on this planet. Then the yogi said, okay, so you say you're a human being. You're not a worm, you're not a tree, you're not a flower, you're not a dog, you're not a cat, you're not a bird. That's just the kind of body which you've been born with. That's the species which you belong to. You could have been born as any other creature on this planet. Still, I can't say you've told me who you are. Reaching the peak of his frustration, the man just said, okay then, I guess I'm just this body, this mind, my intellect, my emotion, my imagination, my intelligence, all of these faculties. I guess that's just who I am. The yogi once again said, no, look very deeply into it. These are just instruments that you're putting to use in the world. You're using your body, you're using your intellect, you're using your emotion, your imagination, your intelligence. These are all different aspects of your being. but still I cannot say, you've told me, who are you? So, all the fundamentals of human suffering come from this, that the human being has remained alienated from the very source of who he is. And we are thinking that by living in the society, gathering a certain amount of wealth, gathering an education for yourself, making a certain amount of money, having family, procreating, that all these things is going to be the source of your happiness. Yes, it's fine to enjoy it, but these are not the fundamental things which can really turn your life into a joy. So, if you're doing all kinds of things in the world without knowing the very fundamentals of who you are, then it seems that no matter what you achieve in the world, there'll be some inner sense that there's some kind of void, some quality is lacking. Even though you can't put your finger on it, it's a very vague sense. You can't be very specific and say, this is it. But one thing for certain is that something is lacking. Yes, it's true. Something is lacking. The most essential thing is lacking. Because tell me, how far away are you from who you are right now? Is it like this? It's not even one step away from what you are right now. And yet, what is closer than close seems to be projected light years apart, just because one has not taken the time to inquire more deeply into one's being. And that process of learning to become more conscious of your own being is not something so complex. I've always described it as it's a bit like just a flipping of an eyelid. Just this difference between eyes closed and eyes open is a very small and subtle difference, isn't it? But what a difference it is to experience with eyes open and eyes closed. And what is it? Just a simple flip of an eyelid.